Antelope Valley Community College, thank you. This is just a beautiful venue, and I can't think of a better place to have a conversation about the community and about community readiness than our premier community college here. So thank you, Antelope Valley Community College. This is a time of consequence that we're living in. This is probably the decisive decade of all of our lives that we're living through. This is, as you said, a federal, state, and local conversation. It's a very important one. Next slide. And so it's worthwhile going back, as we're talking culminating events, just to go back and take a look at a historical culminating event, since we're taking a peek at history. Everybody probably recognizes Pearl Harbor. This is 18 months before Pearl Harbor. Interesting enough, 18 years prior to that, go ahead and build twice for me. So that's Brigadier General William Billy Mitchell, a staunch early advocate of air power. In 1924, he wrote a report, and you can read what he wrote there. 18 years before Pearl Harbor happened, he predicted Pearl Harbor. He was off by a little bit. He was off by 18 minutes. The actual attack, it was on a Sunday morning. He says the attack's going to happen on a Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. The first bombs actually dropped and the torpedoes were dropped at 7:48 a.m. on a Sunday morning. He actually got closer with Clark Field in the Philippines, different time zone. He said 10:40, it was actually 10:30. And he did it just based on geography and math. You know, how long do airplanes fly? They want to take off of the carriers, launch from carriers at sunrise, they need to fly. He predicted the targets. We kind of ignored him. We didn't listen to him. Go ahead and get to the next slide. And of course, that's what happened on that Sunday morning, December 7th, that day that will live in infamy. And we didn't listen. 18 years prior, he told us. You know, if Hirohito, the emperor of Japan, had said, we're going to bomb Japan, just so you know, we might have listened. What if Chairman Xi tells us what he's going to do? Would we pay attention? Next slide. And so that 2027 date is the latest date, and I'm going to show you the growth that China has made towards that 2027, and it is absolutely staggering. So go to the next slide for me. So there was this unipolar moment where we took the peace dividend. This is the time that I was at the Air Force Academy. The Air Force was downsizing, the Armed Forces were downsizing because we didn't need it anymore. And it was actually a great momentary time, another period of great growth and prosperity through the 90s. That ended on 9/11. And so we see these three epochs were separated by two culminating events. The Berlin Wall, the end of the Cold War, was one of those culminating events. Another culminating event was 9/11. The world changed on September 11th, 2001. And that's where we entered this period of violent extremism. And we had the global war on terror to counter that violent extremism. That is now over, thankfully. But unfortunately, we are entering this new era of great power competition. We have not had a culminating event that has defined the start of that period of great power competition, at least not yet. And that's the question, is there going to be a culminating event that wakes us up? And that's part of the reason I'm so grateful for the willingness. We have got all the right players here to start to have this discussion with the community, because it could very likely be that the culminating event is here, attacks on our infrastructure that affects everything. And so this is where I'm going to bring it back to the Aerospace Valley. You know, it's real easy to say, okay, well, all right, so that's Taiwan. Even if they're not ethnic Chinese, or you know, there's a different heritage, and they're not quite Chinese, they're still Eastern Asian, and you know, so maybe we should just kind of let that go and not start World War III over the island of Taiwan. 95% of the advanced microchips are built in Taiwanese fabs by TSMC. TSMC is something different that we do up at Edwards. TSMC. 95% of the advanced microchips. Now we're in the process of building some fabs here. We don't have them. So one of the things that we have tried to do as artificial intelligence, again, we're one of those inflection points, a decisive decade for another reason, is we are denying the export controls on advanced microchips to China. Do you think Chairman Xi would have any qualms whatsoever if they took over Taiwan of denying access to those microchips now that they are writing the rules to the US? So it does matter for lots of reasons. China has built at a staggering speed. The rate at which they've built all those ships and built that Navy and built that Air Force, built that rocket force, built the hypersonics missiles, has been staggering. But they do more than that. They are also targeting our critical infrastructure right here. We know that the Chinese have infiltrated our electrical grids. There is Chinese malware on all the SCADA systems that control electric power communications. The first indication that we have that the invasion of Taiwan has started is probably that the lights go out and that the cellular network doesn't work anymore. If it did work and you could still log into your bank account, you might not actually see anything because all the records might be scrambled. It might be confusing. There's a way to actually attack us without attacking us. They are in all of our critical infrastructure. Next slide. So China has more cyber operators than the rest of the world combined. There was an article in The Economist last week, Tracking the Hacking, is what it's titled, that overviews all of the operations that China's done everywhere that they are, and by a person for person. In fact, earlier, it was actually at the start of March, we're now in April, but we just indicted 12 named People's Liberation Army cyber operators. We indicted them in federal court. Now, of course, they're living in China, so unless they ever come here, we're probably never actually going to. But we've identified them. Go ahead and build for me. So this is a list since 2024 of all the cyber attacks, named cyber attacks, known cyber attacks from China, originating from China. The designation that we use, typhoons are attacks that originate from China. Dust storms are ones that come from Iran. Blizzards are cyber operations that start from Russia. These are the named operations. Go ahead and build for me, and I'll mention just a couple of them. So Volt Typhoon, we've known about since 2019, 2020 timeframe. This is Chinese malware in all of our critical infrastructure: water, electrical, communications, oil, air traffic control. They're in the SCADA systems. We know that they're there. We can't actually get them out. So that's Volt Typhoon. We've known about that one for several years now. What just emerged late last fall, Salt Typhoon. Salt Typhoon, we know it's been going on since 2021. This is 9 different US telecoms companies have been acknowledged that the Chinese have gotten access to their servers and have complete phone records of all of the phone calls from those telecommunications, to include my government phone, to include when he was candidate for president, candidate Trump, Mr. Trump. They have all of his records for the last 4 years. Vice President Kamala Harris records they had. The vice presidential candidate at the time, Mr. Vance, they had his phone records. So they know every single person that every government phone, as well as everybody else's, has had. That is deeply concerning, particularly as you look, just how often we are using messaging apps and other types of things. There's concern about if they're CIA operatives, and who have they called, and who have they called in China, and so maybe that we've just uncovered human. So that is Salt Typhoon, and we still can't kick them out. We know that there's 9 telecommunications companies that are affected. We know that they're still in the system. Once you have admin privileges, it's very, very easy to hide. This is what is known as advanced persistent incursions. And it's something that all those cyber operators in China are very, very adept at doing. The newest one was just named last month, Silk Typhoon. This is China's cyber operations targeting our cloud services. Anybody use Microsoft Teams for anything? Amazon Web Services? All these cloud services that we're becoming reliant on, this is the targeted operations against cloud services. China is doing it. Next slide. And there's a lot of them doing it. Next slide. Chairman Xi, he likes to call himself president, but he was not elected. He is the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party. So I insist on calling him Chairman Xi and not President Xi, as he wants to legitimize himself with that title. So Chairman Xi is actively pushing back against the international rules-based order that has kept the relative peace, despite the threat of the Cold War, kept the peace, the relative peace and prosperity of the global world order since the end of World War II. And Chairman Xi, in his mind, the West is in long-term decline, and China is in ascendancy, and it is now is the decade, in Chairman Xi's mind, when China will realize its 6,000-year rightful legacy to be the sole dominant power of the world and write the rules-based order on its terms. In its mind, after World War II, the international rules-based order that exists, those rules were written by the West, in Chairman Xi's mind, to our own advantage. And they're designed to keep China in this box. And that is by no means the case, but that's how he sees the world. And he has aggressively created a force to be able to insist on their way of seeing the world. And we're trying to deter that and counter that. The People's Republic of China, the People's Liberation Army, and the Chinese Communist Party they are modernizing and growing at a staggering pace. But they're doing more than just that. They're actually actively preparing for something. So go ahead and build for me. So they're on Dingjin Airfield. There's this interesting little structure right here. You're like, okay, that looks like a target or whatever. Go ahead and build for me. That is actually Taichung International Airport in Taiwan, in the northwest corner of Taiwan. They have a model, one-for-one scale model of the international on Taiwan. It's kind of clear what their intent is. Let's zoom out a little bit further. So go ahead and build for me. So if we were to go from Dingjin Airfield and then go a couple hundred miles to the west, deeper into the Gobi Desert, so this is kind of like us going over to Nevada, to the Nevada Test and Training Range, and zooming in there and taking a look at what targets do they put out there in the Gobi Desert. Now, there's a target. That's interesting. Go ahead and build for me. Next slide. There we go. So that is a silhouette of the one-for-one silhouette of the Ford-class aircraft carrier. It's kind of clear what their target is. Go ahead and build for me. Next slide. We'll zoom out again. There's a frigate. These are our railroad tracks. There's another carrier. The railroad tracks curve around the desert. Those are evasive maneuvers that the ships would take as the ballistic missiles, DF-17s and other missiles, are coming in from above. So they have a range that actively targets our ability to project power into the Pacific. Go ahead and build one more time for me, because there's more. This little range there is just filled with targets. There's a destroyer. And so it's pretty clear what China's intent is. So not only are they modernizing and increasing the size of the People's Liberation Army at a staggering pace, but they're not trying to hide the fact of what they're doing. So you don't need a deep water port. So this is a new satellite imagery from just a couple weeks ago. These are relocatable piers. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So these are each independent ships, these little gantry things here. So you can actually sail across the 90 miles. You link them up, and you can go about a mile out into open water, so you actually don't need a deep water port. And you just bring up a roll-on, roll-off, and tanks just roll right off there onto the beach wherever you want. They're actively doing this right now in plain sight. Next slide. This is their shipbuilding capacity. They have 200, there's dozens state-owned shipyards in China. We have 4. They have 230 times the capacity. Just one shipyard in China last year alone, in 2024, built more tonnage of ships than the US did since the end of World War II. In 1 year, they built more ships than we have built by tonnage, which is what matters, than we built since the end of World War II. Next slide. And they're not just, we used to count, well, it's just cheap China technology. We've got that technological advantage like we had over the Soviets. It's not. China is now a modern force. This is a stealth frigate. They just commissioned this ship in January. This is a frigate. It's designed for anti-submarine warfare. So that's one of the advantages that we still have over the People's Liberation Army Navy, is our submarine technology. Unfortunately, the Straits of Taiwan are very, very shallow. Pretty easy to find submarines. And if you want to go after submarines, this is how you do it. These are stealth frigates specifically designed for area denial anti-submarine warfare. Very, very modern. Next slide. And they have the capacity to build lots of these. And so this was the order of battle in the Pacific. We're April now, so this was 2 years ago. This was in March of 23. And already you can see, just a comparison. These are not all of our forces. This is just our forces across the Air Force and Navy that are deployed to the Indo-PACOM theater. So this is what is underneath the PACOM commander. But we are vastly outnumbered by the People's Liberation Army. Next slide. This is what is projected, the intelligence, unclassified intelligence prediction for 2027. So go ahead and, Mary, go back for me, and then go forward, and do it one more time. And forward, there we go. And the important thing is that, these are 5th gen. So these Type 055, these are stealth destroyers. Those are what are designed to go out and protect the aircraft carriers now. So the J-35 is a stealth, 5th gen stealth carrier capable fighter that the People's Liberation Army has. Advanced submarines, hypersonic missiles. This force is specifically designed to counter our strengths. And for them to be, for Chairman Xi, when he says, well, now's the time, and China is going to emerge from 6,000 years of history and exert its dominance, its regional dominance, and then rewrite the world order, it has the capability to do that if it wants to. Next slide. And they're aggressively doing that. So this is the largest naval operation in the Pacific since World War II, happened last December, over 3 days. It was, the island of Taiwan was completely encircled. There were picket lines set out here by the People's Liberation Army Navy. Normally, so for example, when we do RIMPAC, we announce years in advance, hey, we're about to do RIMPAC, big exercise, coalition, allies, we're all going to partner together, and it's going to happen 3 years from now. We plan for it, everybody knows it's going to happen, people steer out of the way. China just did this without telling the world what it's doing. It could have been the start. In fact, for a while there, it looked like the invasion had started because the Navy just showed up and they surrounded Taiwan. Did they just blockade the island? So that was the largest naval operation, close to 100 Navy ships in coordination. Here are all of the events since 2021, all the operations, to include just last month as well. All these dots right here, again, unannounced until it started, the People's Liberation Army Navy put 3 ships between Australia and New Zealand and started launching live missiles, doing live fire exercises. Now, they did tell Australia when they started firing. They said, hey, oh, by the way, we're going to be out here doing a live fire exercise. Australia had to reroute commercial air traffic that was already in the air to avoid the area. Again, no warning whatsoever. After they got done firing those missiles there, those 3 ships actually then sailed all the way around Australia before they went home. Again, sending a very, very deliberate message. Again, I don't like that. It's not a reunification, it's a forced unification. Next slide. And so if we look at, in the, really, just since 2022, this is the number of incursions, so that, again, that air defense identification zone. So in the case of Taiwan, it's the median line, so 90 miles across. We drew a line right down the middle, and we said, okay, over here, that's the People's Republic of China. Over here, it's the island of Taiwan's. And it's just what they're trying to do is desensitize us from incursions into that. So we're into hundreds. And you can see that China does it in response or provocatively as they see fit. This little decrease right here was right after the election. And then they can ramp back up anytime they want. Next slide. So I do want to be very, very clear. I've been picking a lot on Chairman Xi, and I think he deserves it. We do not have a beef, though, with the Chinese people, with the people of China. There is a very, very long and rich heritage and cultural history, 6,000 years, probably the oldest continuous civilization on the planet is the Chinese civilization. We have no disagreement with the people of China. They are actually probably suffering just as much under authoritarian dictatorship as we will if Chairman Xi decides now's the time for China to emerge as the sole dominant superpower of the world, and oh, by the way, I got the army to do it if I want to. So again, it's very, very important, I think, as we talk. I try to be very careful, and I think we all should as we're doing this, is that we don't say, China's doing this or the Chinese this or that, because it's not about the Chinese people. I consider ourselves, we're probably on the same side. They probably don't like living underneath authoritarian communist, Chinese Communist Party leadership.